You're listening to the Law of Attraction Radio Network.
In this multidimensional world, much of which is invisible to the eye, a group of non-physical entities have come here to expand our knowledge of how the universe works. These non-physical teachers are called Joshua, and they convey their teaching through Gary Temple Bodley. Each week, Gary, with a selection of law of attraction experts, open up a roundtable of thought-provoking discussions surrounding the teachings of Joshua. Joshua's intention is to bring clarity to the listeners through the ever-expanding law of attraction by looking at reality from a new perspective. Welcome to the teachings of Joshua Roundtable.
Welcome to the very first episode of the Teachings of Joshua Roundtable. I'm your host, Gary Temple Bodley, and each week I'll be joined by various panelists as we discuss the law of attraction, the mechanism of physical reality, and other universal forces as taught by Joshua. Since most of you are listening to this first episode are probably not familiar with Joshua, I'll spend a little time here explaining who Joshua is and how they communicate with us. That's right, Joshua is a they. It's plural. Joshua is a group of non-physical teachers who come through me. Before you change the channel, let me tell you my story. If you know Abraham as channeled by Hicks, then you know how channeling works. Esther can speak for Abraham. Joshua comes through me in writing. Esther is a vocal channel, and I am what's called an automatic writer, though there's nothing automatic about it. I sit down on my computer and translate the thoughts that are given to me by Joshua. I have to choose the words. It all happens very fast, and it doesn't make much sense as I'm writing. It's only when I go back to read what was written that I see the whole story. In the summer of 2013, I had this very strong desire to meditate. It was very strange because I had never liked the idea of meditation. I thought it was weird, and I didn't think it would be enjoyable. I thought it was just a waste of time. But then I started hearing about all these people who meditated, and I decided to give it a go. I bought the Abraham guided meditations, and my wife Lily and I began to meditate. I meditated every day, and within a couple of months, I felt a presence enter my body while I was in meditation. The presence started slowly and became more intense as I meditated. It was like someone had their hand on my head, but it was inside my skull. It flowed and radiated around my head and jaw. It came slowly, built up energy, and left when I was done meditating. It really felt like some entity apart from me. So I began asking it questions, and I received the answers immediately. Soon I could feel the presence even when I wasn't meditating, and I could ask questions and get the answers. I would ask this presence where missing items were and the names of people that slipped my mind. Always the answers were immediate and accurate. I then began asking more important questions, and I was amazed by the answers. They just made so much sense. Finally, I asked the presence's name, and it replied, Joshua. One day in the middle of November 2013, just about 2 years ago, while meditating, Joshua asked me to get up and write. So I got up and went to my computer and started typing. In about an hour, 4 pages were typed, and those pages went on to become the first 4 pages in Joshua's first book, A Perception of Reality. Every morning I would sit down and type as fast as I could. Each session would go until I got tired. About an hour it would take. I would just start where the last day left off. There was never an outline or any idea of what was coming next. I just kept translating the thoughts, and in 8 weeks, the book was done. If you've read the book, it's exactly what was written in those 8 weeks other than correcting typos and stuff like that. The day the book ended, I thought it was over. However, the very next day, I was urged to get up to my computer and start typing again. A new book was started, and in 8 weeks, Joshua's second book was finished. It's called Health, Wealth, and Love. Both books are incredible and tell the story of what is really going on in our reality. It's a little different than we all think. As I was writing these books, I shared them with a few friends, and they shared it with their friends, and pretty soon I had people sending Joshua questions. It works the same way with the questions as the book. I read the question and just start typing Joshua's answer. So every day I was writing for about an hour and answering a question or two. It's the answers to the questions that really amaze me because they're so vivid and clear. I don't know the people asking the questions, but it's like Joshua does. And the answers help other people as well because most questions are universal. Suffice it to say that my life has completely changed over the last 2 years. So far, 4 books have been written, as well as dozens of articles and hundreds of questions and answers. Over 500,000 words have been typed out, and I can only type with 3 fingers. It's all pretty amazing. After all this information has been given to us, we thought it'd be fun to get a group together and discuss it. So we've created this radio program, and we hope you'll tune in each week. We will pick a topic that Joshua has given us, and we'll talk about it using what we've learned. We'll try to make it easy to understand and fun. A lot of these concepts are quite advanced, so it's helpful to get everyone's perspective. We will also pick a question that's been sent in to Joshua, and we'll talk about the issue and then read Joshua's answer. So let's get started by introducing everyone to this week's panel. With us today, we have Jules Johnson, we have Steve Feniza, and we have Janine Katakovich. Everyone say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Pleasure to be with you.
Okay, great. Well, I thought it'd be fun to start off this very first episode. Today is October 10th, 2016, and while we go along in our radio show, we'll also post this on YouTube and other places so that in the future people can come back to this very first episode and see where to start it all off. So it might be fun to talk about how we all got into this interest in law of attraction and universal forces and how physical reality really works. And how it worked for me was I was interested in motivation. And so I got into Tony Robbins when I was very young and in business and starting out. And one thing led to the next. And back in those days, Zig Ziglar was big, and I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And it's all you can see leading me on this path. But mostly it was towards financial success and things that everyone wants. In the real estate crisis, especially here in South Florida, my wife and I pretty much lost everything, and we had to start it from scratch. So we lost our house, and we moved to actually a beautiful house on the river that was back to preserve. But it was far away from all our friends, and we were sort of isolated there. And someone gave us The Secret. So we watched The Secret and then listened to the DVD and spent a lot of time with that. And then my wife picked out a book that we had for years, actually was a CD, which was Abraham's Ask and It Is Given. And we would just drive around in our car because we didn't have a CD player in the house. So we drive in the car for hours and hours listening to that over and over again. And from that, we went to our first Abraham workshop in Asheville, and everything unfolded from that. So really, a lot of this coming through Joshua is because we went to see Abraham. How did you guys get interested in all of this?
I'll start off. I started off very, very early in life. I remember being about 8 or 9 years old when we had a Jehovah's Witness come to the door, and they dropped off a book, and I devoured it. And I remember going to school. I remember it said that you couldn't be friends with anybody who didn't believe in God. And I remember taking a poll with all my friends, asking who believed in God and who didn't. And that lasted about a week. My mom explained to me that she didn't agree with the teachings, you might say, and that shocked me because you believe everything. I thought you had to believe everything you read, and then you had to believe everything your mom said. So I really appreciated that because it caused me to at that point I had to decide for myself. I thought what was real. So as we went forward, my mom would take us to lots of different churches and expose us to lots of different religions and spiritual thoughts. And I had to just see what resonated with me. And surprisingly, Star Wars resonated with me, The Force, which sounds kind of funny.
Me too. Yep.
And then I was exposed to Richard Bach and Jonathan Livingston Seagull. And then I read his book, Illusions, The Adventures of the Reluctant Messiah. I loved that book. So very early on, I've just been devouring as much as I can my whole life. And then I eventually found some channelers, Seth, Theo, and then Abraham was big. I think I've been getting Abraham CDs now once a month for 10 years. And I've gone to numerous seminars.
Right.
And thankfully, I met you at a seminar here in LA and found Joshua, which was at the perfect time, perfect place. Took me, and I feel like it's just taken me to the next level of my spiritual evolution. And here I am now on this radio program.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I can resonate with a lot of what Steve just said. Religion versus spirituality. I myself was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school, and as I got into my 20s, a little later than Steve there, and having my children, I realized it's my responsibility to teach them, to bring to their awareness what there is. So I had a question, what is life all about? We, my husband and I, tend to live by the golden rule. So in my 20s, I was introduced to authors like Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, Marianne Williamson, Wayne Dyer. I too attended conferences and workshops and was enlightened that way. And, as life went on and got busy, 3 kids later, I realized I fell away. And sometimes I cocoon and fall away, and then I blossom like a butterfly and fly. So I have been down that path now several times, and I've been reawakened. I feel like I have a calling to help others, and luckily through my husband Tim, I had the pleasure of meeting Gary and just was thrilled at that opportunity and reading his first book, Perception into Reality, and delving into more as we speak.
Yeah, it's amazing how we've all connected just what seemed randomly, but it's always, something led to something else that we just went with it, and that's how we all hooked up. And Jules, you have probably an awesome story too, considering what you're doing.
I don't know. I don't know if it's so awesome, but it's been a while. I started off in metaphysics when I was a young teenager and grew up in metaphysics, and then later in my late 20s got into Seth. Yeah. And then of course, years later, Abraham came, and he was the one that termed it the law of attraction. And from that point, I was hooked into Abraham at, many, many years ago, even before The Secret came out. Yeah. And then it just blossomed from there. And it's like every time you're touched, so importantly in your life with the law of attraction, it kind of leads you into doing things. So I, of course, did Law of Attraction Talk Radio, Law of Attraction Radio Network, and Law of Attraction Magazine. And it's like, okay, you would think I'd have enough of Law of Attraction, but I can't get enough because it's ever expanding and there's always something to learn.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay, great. Well, that's so interesting, and we'll talk more about, how we are evolving ourselves. But right now, let's talk about Joshua's quote. And what we do is on the website, which is theteachingsofjoshua.com. We have all of these quotes from Joshua, and a good friend of mine, Deborah Jo, puts all the quotes with these fabulous photos that photographers donate to us to use as these quotes. And each week, if you're on the newsletter, you'll get a quote of the week and the question of the week. And this is one of my favorite quotes. So who's going to read the quote?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Here we go. Your perspective that you are the parent, that you have experienced more of life, and that therefore you know what's better for your child, is a flawed premise. Your child was born with a level of understanding that is far beyond your comprehension.
So it sort of turns our whole idea of parenthood upside down. The parents think that because they've been on Earth longer, that they know how everything works. Yet Earth is a vibrational thing, and you're a match to the Earth when you're born because you have the same exact vibration as the Earth at the time you're born, but you can't keep up because you have resistance and the Earth doesn't. And things move pretty quickly on Earth, and this is why older people have such a hard time with technology, because that's a new vibration. But young people coming in don't have that problem because they're coming in at a higher vibration. And so really what parents tend to do is limit their child's experience by influencing them with their own fearful beliefs. But I think, as we can see, a lot of kids, and I think Steve's kids are good examples of this, if the parent has a little bit better idea of what's going on, they can give the child a little bit more room.
Yeah, and I would say that my kids have definitely been teachers to me. I mean, by far. Early on, I kind of fought against it. I tried to be the parent, so to speak, and say this my way is the best way. And my son is very strong, and I'm so thankful because I finally just gave in and said, and I love the fact that I got confirmation from Joshua on this, because I gave in before I got confirmation that he's got his own path and that he's going to be fine, because it was fear-based. I was worried that if he didn't do what I said, he would not be as full as he should be. And he's proven to me that it's interesting that he knows all this, but he's not like me where he reads all the books and he seeks it all out. He just knows it without having to do that.
Yeah, I think as we're sort of born with the knowledge, then we're sort of led away from that and more into the reality of physical life. And then for all of us here, we've had to rediscover it again by reading and going back into more.
Yes.
I can definitely relate to both of you are saying. As being a mom of 3 boys, I definitely know that they are my teachers, and I have learned a whole lot from them. And I also do a lot of volunteer work with children, and I always, it marvels me just each one and each gift that they come, and they almost come with this knowingness.
Mm-hmm.
And once we're aware of that, we can see the gift in it. I definitely believe that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's one of the things that Joshua, shares their perspective that's completely different than what we think, and that's why I think that the Joshua information is so really interesting.
Can I just mention something? I agree with Joshua. I mean, of course, it's wonderful. I don't think that we can place the blame so much, if there is blame, on parents, because if you really stop and think about it, really how we have been taught from our early years is to conform to what society thinks is right through schools. Right. And so it's like we have to break away from what we've learned as children to move forward and let the kids expand beyond and outside of the box that everybody's kind of been put in. So it is a great time of awakening that parents are beginning to understand, wait a minute, these children are brilliant.
Right.
And it's very exciting to see.
It is exciting. It's very exciting to see.
Mm-hmm.
You can really see, too, with the tools that are available now, how so many young people are doing such incredible things because they have access to tools that, their parents don't even know how to work yet.
Yes.
And they're not being limited because I guess the parents don't see it as a danger. So while maybe when we were kids, we were riding motorcycles and bicycles and, being outdoors and doing crazy stuff where the parents were watching us, now kids can really expand on the internet and using all the video tools and stuff at their disposal too, and connecting with other people. I think technology is really blowing up here and changing the dynamics of almost everything.
I also think that there's something else going on beyond technology. If you look at Malala from Pakistan, who just got the Nobel Peace Prize, 16 years old, it's that her father did not conform. He allowed her to go to the place even where she was such a threat that she got shot in the face.
Yeah.
But look at what she has done as far as awareness. Oh my goodness. 16 years old and standing up to the Taliban.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's incredible.
Well, as more and more parents have the awareness, like, we did, Jules, I agree, had to conform. And as a parent now, when we realize that we're all evolving and these children are coming in at a higher vibrational level, I believe when we give them the space to be all they can be, they truly are. Some of my upbringing was fear-based.
Mhm.
We want to encourage them to be all they can be. And each one of us, regardless of time, has come in with a talent and a purpose in this life to share with others. It's just some of us are encouraged to do so and have more room to do so, and others maybe were a little stifled. And then, later in life, we're now developing that a little bit more.
Right.
I was super lucky in that I was raised in a broken home. So my mother left when I was 13, and my father was working and dating all the time. So my brother and I were pretty much left on our own to do whatever we wanted without anyone telling us what to do.
Awesome.
What a beautiful way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
You were free to just expand and keep on expanding.
He was free to be me.
It was so funny because my mother was the most overprotective person in the world. And then when they got divorced, I went from pure prison to pure freedom overnight.
Wow.
And luckily I'm alive, Things could have gone wrong.
Your guidance was good.
My guidance was good, exactly right. Okay, cool. So let's go on to, this is a really cool article that Joshua wrote, and it all stemmed from a question from Steve. Steve had been participating in this one-on-one program that Joshua suggested last December. So prior to that, Steve had asked Joshua a few questions, and then Joshua says, after answering those questions, came up with this idea that Steve would ask between 3 and 4 questions a week. So we would have to come up with a lot of questions, which is not easy to do. And by doing that, by making him do it, 3 or 4 every week for 6 months, he has to ask not only the big questions, but also all these little questions. And it turns out that these little questions have a lot of impact. So one day, Steve asked Joshua, because Steve is a techie, he wants, video games have cheat codes in them, and you can go online and find the cheat codes to these video games that help you advance into different levels. He wants the cheat codes to life. So Joshua wrote this article, and these are the cheat codes to life. There's 15 of them, and basically they break down Joshua's whole philosophy in one article. So today I think we're going to have time for 5 or 6 of them, and then we'll finish them up in weeks to come. Who wants to read the cheat codes?
I can read.
Okay, Steve. Let's go with cheat code number 1.
Okay. You are a worthy being, as worthy as any who has ever lived. Therefore, you are worthy enough to receive all that you want. It is your divine right to be, do, and have anything you desire.
Well, that is a statement that you hear Abraham say a lot, that in this reality you can be, do, or have whatever you want. But in this case, Joshua takes it a little further and says that you can be, do, and have what you want because you are worthy, and that this is your world, your reality, your universe. And if you really look at it, most people's trouble with attracting what they want is their insecurity or their feelings of unworthiness or their feelings that they don't deserve it.
Well,
go ahead.
If I could add, for me, it was once I do this, then I'll be worthy. So
exactly.
I came from a stance of unworthiness, but I was going to prove my worthiness, and then I was going to feel it. And as I think we all know at this point, that's backwards. You have to feel worthy first, and then it manifests in your reality. So that's been my journey.
Yeah, mine too, totally. I had always dated girls because, how they made me look. I always wanted to drive the car because of how it made me look. I wanted to always feel worthy in what I was doing. I wanted to create the conditions that made me feel worthy, and that was always a problem, right? It never worked out that way. I always ended up making these conditions that were reflective of how I was feeling.
I find in my 20s, I thought I was my looks and my hair. In my 30s, maybe I thought I was my car or my home.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, is it liberating to find out that all is not true. You're none of that, and you're a whole lot more than that.
yeah, you're born worthy, and you're no more worthy than anyone else who's ever lived or ever will live, nor are you any less worthy than anyone. You're just exactly, absolutely worthy. Great.
Just the way we are.
Yep. Okay, number 2.
You are unique in all of the world, in all of history, and in all of the future. No one who has ever lived or will ever live is anything like you. You are truly unique, and this fact is evidence of your complete worthiness.
Right. So what's interesting about physical reality, if you look at anything on Earth, there's nothing that's identical. No two mountains, no two trees, no two snowflakes, no two people. Everything is unique. And this one aspect of physical reality points to the fact that that the expression of reality is one of uniqueness. So that every single life and person and tree and being and molecule is completely different than any that has ever come before or will come after. And this one fact is that you are unique, that your perspective is completely different than anyone else's perspective, and that is why you are equally worthy, because you are unique.
It kind of reminds me of the quote. It's supposed to be funny. It's always remember you are unique, just like everyone else. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3.
Number 3, you create your own reality. Your life is your creation, and you are fully responsible for how that life unfolds. It is in your control. You are not a victim to fate. You are the captain of your life.
Okay, so that's a big one. If you're either believe that you create your own reality or that things just happen. And it's funny that most people in the world believe that things just happen. And they point to the fact that everything's not perfect, because if they created their own reality, everything would be perfect. But that is just a flawed premise based on a limited perspective of, where you are in the world. You have to. It's hard to start, but you have to start by saying that, okay, every single thing that there is in my life was created by me. And if you look at it, 99.9% of everything in your life you want, right? You really enjoy, appreciate, you wouldn't trade for anything. And it's just the few little things that aren't exactly quite right in your mind that you think is the reason that you don't create your own reality.
If I could jump in real quick.
Yes,
this is
please.
a hard one when I'm talking to people that are not familiar with these principles, and especially if that person is going through something at the time like cancer or the loss of a very close one or something, and then you tell them that you created your reality. It's a tough pill to swallow.
Well, certainly when it's the first thing that you learn when you're on this path to awakening, it should be the last thing you learn, really, because how you create your reality is different than you think. And so we'll go on to talk about more about that. And it's funny how when this article was written, or when the answer for Steve was written, this all came out in about 7 minutes, I would say. So this whole 1,000 or 1,500 words was typed like as fast as you can imagine someone typing. And it came in the order. And when we go back and look at how this is ordered, 1 leads into 2, 2 leads into 3, and 3 leads into 4, and so on. Not only are these the cheat codes to life, but this is the order that they want you to know them as well. So now let's go on to number 4.
Number 4. Okay. You have been given free will. You can think any thought you like. However, those thoughts create your reality. You can choose to look at the negative side of things and bring more of that into your experience, or you can choose to look at the positive aspects of anything and bring more of that into your experience.
So that's how you create your reality. Okay, this is very simplified, by the way, but it's your thoughts. And you can choose whatever you want to think. But most people don't choose what they think. Most people don't practice their thoughts at all.
Yeah, I would almost say they're not thoughts to you. To you, they're the way it is.
It's almost like they're habits. But, I wake up each day saying, I can choose how today's going to go. I can look at how today is going to be, how it's going to unfold. And maybe my decision wasn't as great yesterday, but today's a new day. And we are given that free will to live that day as we see it. And sometimes we're human and we slip back and we get into patterns and habits. But once we have that realization that they can be changed and we will manifest those thoughts, we follow that and we're in a much better place.
If I could step in here, I agree wholeheartedly. People are not taught that they have the power over their thoughts.
Right.
They were taught that they have to live life by default. And nothing has wrecked the psychiatry field more than the law of attraction.
Exactly.
And Abraham. I mean, really, they have put so many psychiatrists out of business because they are saying, you have to slowly change your mind. But it's instantaneous that you can flip the switch from something negative to something positive. And it's really that simple. And yet we're taught not to, or not to be aware of the power that we possess, which is born through our thoughts.
You look at psychiatry, and the whole time they're spending on the problem, and they're taking the person's focus of thought more onto the problem and more onto the problem and more onto the problem. Mm-hmm. And that's the opposite of how this system works. You want to take your thought onto what is wanted, what is appreciated, what is preferred, that sort of thing, and not dwell on what is not wanted, because law of attraction brings what your focus is on.
Exactly. I'm a hypnotherapist by trade. So if I see a person more than once, I feel like I'm not doing them justice. It's only once is enough to change their mindset and so that they can move forward.
Yeah, and the psychiatrist is there for years.
Yeah, years. Years.
Yeah.
10, 11, 12 years. Do
Yeah.
you believe being stuck for that long?
Well, it's the incentive for the psychiatrist to keep it going as long as possible.
Oh, yeah, the money, honey.
Yeah. But wouldn't it be interesting if children were taught how to think when they were kids? Then it would be this normal thing to just think positive thoughts.
Or to better phrase it, to not untrain them how to think. If you look at
Exactly.
2-year-olds running around, they know it. They got it. They're happy.
Right.
They're running. I wish I had their energy. And somehow I think we force them to go to school and we kind of beat it out of them.
Yeah, if you look at 2-year-olds, they're focused on what's interesting to them in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then when they feel bad at all, they go crazy.
Yeah.
They really feel bad.
They have zero tolerance.
Now, when we feel bad, it's like, we're supposed to, it's a normal thing. But for them, it's not normal at all. And that's why they have tantrums. The slightly bad feeling is horrible.
Yep.
Okay, number 5.
Number 5, you determine what is positive or negative. The universe is neutral. You bring judgment to something, and how you see it determines whether it is positive or negative.
So that's a huge thing right there. We're moving from, as we awaken, we're moving from duality, where something is either good or bad, right or wrong, into neutrality, where I choose how to see it. It's not inherently good or bad. It's my perspective, and I can choose my perspective. Just like I could choose any thought, I can choose a thought that feels better to one that feels worse. I can actually choose to see this as a positive thing, or I can choose to see it as a negative thing. It is not inherently that way. It is all based on what I decide to do. So that's even another level higher. So,
It is. Gary, recently I had come to you with a question, and I just felt it was, in my mind, negative in nature. And when I asked you about it, I just thought you said, I wouldn't even think that way. And you turned things into a positive. And I walked away from that dinner saying, you know what? I can choose how I want to look at this.
Right.
I can choose to see the good in it or the bad in it.
Yep.
And I choose to see the good in it at the end of the day.
And
sometimes we have to stop ourselves and take a step back.
Sure, because
and reflect on that.
To an obvious, knee-jerk reaction, it seems like a bad thing. But we can't see how this is going to play out over years or in the future or why it's really here. And if we have, I don't know, this is probably a cheat code in here somewhere, I'm skipping ahead, but if we realize that everything that comes to us is in response to our vibration, and our vibration is yearning for what we want, then when it seems like something is bad, there's actually, if you look at it, it's down the road going to get us what we want. It's going to change us into that person. That's what we want. Joshua's written an article, and in one of these articles has a little blurb about school shootings. Well, school shootings obviously appear tragic and terrible. But if you look at the down the line possible changes that can come from a school shooting, you can see it in a different way, one that maybe makes you feel better. And, Columbine is an example of this in Colorado now. They have all these programs to really work with people who are outsiders or people who are feeling bullied or people who have some issues, and they take a proactive step that was never done before, which has such an impact on millions of kids that would have suffered through the same old school system without this happening. So you look at that one event, it was horrible and tragic, but it led to something that was massively more powerful.
And then the communities pull together and they pray and they, send love to the victims, and they want to step up to the plate and see what they can do, such as setting up things like that. And, that's a wonderful thing. Through the bad, something good happens and people are banded together as one.
Yeah.
In love.
Exactly.
And care and understanding and, empathy and everything that goes with it.
So you can take a look at that and say, we should put problem children in a different school or jail or whatever and segregate them, and this will solve our problem. Or you can say that this event helped bring about a change where we can help everybody as they're going through school. And I think that a lot of people who aren't really waking up yet are trying to fix all these problems. So like every single law is trying to fix a fear-based problem, and it's putting more attention on the problem, and it never tends to solve it that way. All right, I think we have time for the next one.
Oh, okay. We'll go to number 6 then.
Yep.
You create through your thoughts, words, and actions. Choose them carefully. Thoughts you continue to think are called beliefs. You have many beneficial beliefs, and these help you create the life you desire. You have some limiting beliefs, and these hold you apart from what you want. Since you can choose your thoughts, you can also choose your beliefs.
So here we're going up one more level, just from thoughts to beliefs, which are powerful thoughts that are just thought over and over again. And sometimes you think that beliefs are facts, and you don't challenge them. But when a belief doesn't benefit you, when it doesn't serve who you really are, when it isn't in line with what you want, it's limiting. So there's two types of beliefs, all limiting beliefs are based in fear, and there's two types of fear. Rational fear, where you could get eaten by a lion or fall off a cliff, and irrational fear, like the fear of speaking in public or introducing yourself or asking someone else on a date. And it's this limiting belief that are based on these irrational fears that hold you apart from what you want. And when you can learn to reduce the intensity of these limiting beliefs, your whole vibration shifts and your whole world changes. And this is one of the biggest aspects of Joshua's teachings, is learning how to analyze and reduce the intensity of limiting beliefs.
I think just recognizing them as a belief is a gift, because when you're swimming in it, you don't even see it. So It's nice when something arises in your life that points it out to you, and you go, "Oh, I didn't even know I had that. That was just the way I thought it was always." And then you can work on it, change it if you don't like it, which is empowering.
Absolutely. So it's interesting with Steve is when we first started, Steve is is a fearless being. He races cars and motorcycles. He's a adrenaline junkie. And he came into this whole thing from the position that he was fearless. Yet, when we go a little deeper, he was fearless as far as, racing motorcycles goes, but maybe not as fearless as talking to people about law of attraction or something like that.
Yeah, I was shocked at how much fear is actually in my life.
Yeah. So, anyway, so that's the next level. We'll go on with the rest of them next week. They're also on the website if you guys want to skip ahead, theteachingsofjoshua.com, under articles. Right now, we're going to go on to the question of the week, and I think we have about 18 minutes left here. Who's going to read the question?
Oh, I guess I am.
All right, Jules. This question actually came in from I get about 7 or 8 questions a day now from people all over the world. And this came from someone named Wendy. And it was in August. So why don't you go ahead and read this one?
Okay, it says, Dear Joshua, currently I am dealing with chronic Lyme disease. I have been dealing with this for several years, like 5 or 6, and the last couple of years the symptoms have gotten much worse. According to the medical field, there is no standard treatment for this disease. I have tried several protocols and I'm still not feeling better. I am wondering what I can do to help my body heal. What protocol would work best for me? What to focus on? How to heal myself? I am tired of dealing with this disease and I want to get on with my life. Thank you, Wendy.
Okay, so as conscious creators, we know a little bit more about how the system works. What would you guys tell Wendy?
It's her vibration.
Good.
And then
Sorry,
she
Wendy, is your
she hit
vibration.
me.
Yes, you probably would. People don't like to hear that.
They don't.
Yeah. So how
But
does
also, it has to do with her emotions behind it. I am so anxious to hear what Joshua has to say about this because Lyme disease is treated as a non-curable disease, but I don't believe it. So I'm just so anxious to hear what he has to say.
Okay, so we're going to go through this question, which is pretty profound. Answer. And I'll just read one paragraph. We'll talk about that real quick and go on to the next paragraph.
Wonderful.
Dear Wendy, this is Joshua, not me, talking here. When you are diagnosed with an unwanted bodily condition, the first thing you want to do is remove yourself from the condition. However, this approach is not in alignment with the laws of the universe as we know them. So let us give you our perspective. Okay, so the first thing when you are in any condition that you don't like, be it, an occurrence, an event, or a bodily condition, what you want to do is remove yourself from the condition. That's just like this natural thing. So you say, I don't like where I am, so I want to be somewhere else. This is actually an aspect of the survival instinct. You touch your hand to a hot stove, you want to remove that condition, so you move it away. Now, in survival, that works, but it doesn't work so well in a bodily condition or something that you've created because you've created for a purpose and it's shown up. All right, so we'll go on to the next paragraph here. You are at the center of your universe. You are the only thing that really matters in your life. This world was created for your unique expression of life and expansion of consciousness. This is the physical environment you wanted to explore prior to your birth. You set up certain conditions through your intentions for the type of life you wanted to live this time around. So Joshua brings people from the state of mind they're in to a higher perspective, looking at their life from above. And I think what they're doing now is telling Wendy that she's created certain circumstances to explore what she came here to explore.
And she may not be going that direction right now.
Right. Exactly right.
Okay.
There is one universal law above all else, and that is the law of attraction. This law states that you attract whatever comes to you by the vibrational signal you emit. Now, if you can understand and believe that all we have said all we have said is the absolute truth. You will also have to understand that you are the creator of your life. You have absolute and ultimate responsibility for everything that comes to you, and you attracted this unwanted physical condition. So boom, right there, you can't blame this on fate. If you're going to believe what we're saying, if you're going to believe this answer, you have to know that you attracted this condition. So this is like step 3. And you're going to have to, the only way that you're going to be able to cure this condition is understand that you attracted it.
And you attracted it because you're trying to get them to, it's like Abraham says, it's getting bigger. It's going to get bigger until you address it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And by what you're saying is that her thoughts really created this, even though she didn't mean to create the disease, but it's something in her limiting beliefs or some emotional issue that brought her to the vibration to match it.
At this point, we do not know. Let's read on.
Yeah, good. Bring it on.
This might be hard for you to swallow, since you cannot believe that you would attract such a chronic and unnecessary disease. If you were the creator of your life, then why would you create this condition? Wouldn't you simply create a life free from pain and suffering? Well, you have the power and ability to create anything you want. It's your perception of your life that causes you to judge people, experiences, and conditions as good or bad, right or wrong. It is your perception of your own reality that gives you the illusion that things are either going well or going poorly. If you can learn to change your perception and train yourself to see that everything that comes to you is to your benefit, is a benefit to you, and is done for you, then you can begin to steer your life in the direction of what is wanted. So I think what they're saying here is that by focusing on what is wrong, or how people should be different, or how things should be different, right? You're steering yourself automatically in that direction. But by learning to realize what is right and seeing everything as beneficial, you're steering yourself in a completely different direction. All right, let's keep going. Anyone have anything on that last paragraph?
I was just going to say that for me, I was judging my life as wrong. I had not done enough. I was getting too old, and I was running out of time. So this whole experience has relieved that pressure, and I feel like I have nothing but time now. So it's a lot better way to look at it.
If you cling to the belief that you have no power, that you are simply a victim, that you cannot deliberately create the life you wish to have, then you will continue to experience unwanted conditions, and you will continue to create in your own life by accident, which is what she's been doing so far, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just know with myself, when I want to self-heal something, I might be laying in bed, for instance, and I just see myself as healthy, whole, and complete. Because if I don't, I know I'm creating more of the same. And that seems to be the pattern so many of us get stuck in, is creating more of the same, because that's where our intention is, rather than, put that aside and say, I'm healthy, whole, and complete, and really see that. I lay in bed at night and scan that. I was recently walking with a girlfriend telling her of this experience. She's like, oh my goodness, what does your husband say? And I'm like, well, I don't really say it out loud. I'm just doing it. It works for me. So I need to change that. And so what anyone thinks.
Exactly.
It works for you.
Yeah. Okay, so Joshua so far in the answer has set up this new perspective where this woman, Wendy, is in control of her life, that she's the creator of her life, and that she can choose to believe that she's the creator of her life, or that she can choose to believe that she's a victim of fate. But if she chooses to believe she's a victim of fate, then she's powerless. If she chooses to believe she's the creator of her life, then she has a way to deal with this. We will now address the issue of your disease and how you attracted it, whether you think you did or not. There are no coincidences and there are no accidents. Anything you believe to be random chance of fate is not random at all. Whatever happens in your life, no matter how big or how small, is an accurate reflection of your chronic vibrational signal. You get what you put out. So she has a chronic disease, and a lot of people have chronic diseases, which is really interesting, isn't it? That they live with this disease over time, and Josh was pointing out that her vibration or her signal is chronic also. It's the same signal over and over and over again. Your Lyme disease was attracted by you for a purpose. The purpose is growth and expansion through experience. The Lyme disease is a gift to you, for without it, you would not expand in the way you intended during this incarnation on Earth. So then, as it is a gift, how will you reference your gift? This is how you deal with any unwanted condition. So now it's another matter of perspective. If you see it as this horrible, horrible thing that you want to get rid of and just go back to how you were without it, or you can see it as a gift. What do you guys think about that?
That's hard.
It's got to be terrible.
But it's empowering, right? Because you can do something about it.
Well, you have to train your approach. You can now, if you train your approach is that you're a victim and this thing came, and then why did it come to me? And you know how horrible this is, and there's nothing I can do about it because it's incurable. Well, then you're not changing your vibration, are you? There's no way your vibration changes. But what if you frame it as it's a gift and it came for a reason and there's a message to be gained from it? Then all of a sudden you flip a switch, and your whole approach to viewing this condition changes from one of animosity to one of, maybe appreciation, if you can get that far.
Bernie Siegel, MD, has stated to me a number of times is that when you accept the disease, kind of surrender to it, don't fight it, especially cancer, that's when the immediate healing occurs. There's so many remissions, instantaneous remissions, because people simply surrender. They're changing their perception of what their disease is bringing to them. And once they change it, they change their entire life, and they are free of it. It's like instant.
I'd say that most people get diseases and cure their own diseases hundreds of times a day without even knowing it.
Exactly. Doctors say that we get cancer 10, 15, 20 times in our lives.
Right.
Probably even more. And we heal it.
And you heal it, right. The body heals itself. It's only when your attention to the cancer and you're trying to get rid of it and hating it, does it get bigger.
Right.
Cancers grow, right?
Yep.
Okay. You cannot remove the condition by wishing it away because your attention is focused squarely on the problem. You will continue to give power to the disease by your focus on it. By wanting it to go away, you actually make it stronger and stronger. By accepting it as a gift, you accept the information contained within the condition, and your focus is now on that rather than the unwanted aspect of the package. So the Lyme disease is an information package. It is alerting you to something. And if you see it as a gift, and the gift is the message in the package, that's the purpose of the Lyme disease, is to move you to an understanding that was, and an approach to life that was different than before you had it. So now it really gets good. Okay. You attracted this condition for a reason. This approach has a lot to tell you about this condition has a lot to tell you about your approach to life. Your old approach to life led you to obtain the condition. There was some feeling in your life that was a match to this exact condition. The way this disease feels to you is a representation of how you were feeling before you received the disease. This exact disease comes in response to the specific feelings you were having before the disease arrived. So the Lyme disease is a manifestation of the feeling this is me talking, by the way. The Lyme disease is a manifestation of the feeling she was having before the disease came. So she was having these whatever feelings, and the first manifestation of these feelings was an unpleasant thought, right? Your thoughts are your guidance system. So she was, she was saying she was feeling bad. She had negative thoughts, but she kept feeling this way. The thoughts came to hopefully alert her to the fact through her guidance system that she wasn't focused on a place that was beneficial. She was focused on a place that was, limiting. So she kept chronically feeling this way. She kept ignoring her negative thoughts. And in her case, what manifested was a Lyme disease, which she could not ignore. Mm-hmm. All right, you guys got that so far? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then, is it necessary to understand the cause of those feelings that brought on the disease? Not at all. Just know that you were chronically thinking and feeling a certain way before the disease, and now that you have the disease, you are continuing to think and feel the same things, but with more attention and more focus. In order to experience something different than this disease, you must feel for something different. Your approach to life must be radically altered. And this is a saying that Joshua says in the third book is a radical change to your approach to life. And so we'll go on to this next paragraph, and they're going to explain this even better. There is no effective treatment for this disease because the feeling of the disease is rooted in an approach to life that is comfortable and appears appropriate. How about that? Just got chills. For instance, peanut allergies can be addressed by a change in diet. All unwanted physical conditions can be addressed by a change in one's approach to life. It makes sense for the peanut allergy sufferer to avoid peanuts. It makes sense to alter your diet, your habit of behavior, in order to avoid an unwanted physical condition. This is talking about peanuts now, right? If you have a peanut allergy, or if you have celiac disease, whatever, you change your diet, you change your approach to life, and the disease goes away, right?
Right.
So, okay. But the type of change we ask you to make does not seem to have, next page, anything to do with a physical condition. Yet the feelings you have had that led to the condition you now have are related. They are similar. If you can change your beliefs, feelings, attitude, and approach to life, the disease will no longer be necessary. So imagine that you are coming to Earth. You are put yourself in this trajectory. You are here to explore and follow your passions and interests and have fun and interact with people, and something happens to move you off of that path onto this other path. Your first indication that you're on the other path, you're going away from what you want, is these feelings of I'm not worthy, or I can't do it, or this isn't going to be good for me, or whatever. And you're supposed to switch when you have those negative emotions, and realize, no, I am worthy and all this stuff. But if you chronically keep going down that wrong path, or the path that's not serving you, then you're going to get the next big thing. And in her case, it's Lyme disease, but it could be, bankruptcy, or a car accident, or divorce, or something like that. So what Josh was saying here is you've got to change your approach to life. However, the way that you are living is seen as normal. Everyone else is complaining about everything. Everyone else is feeling unworthy. It's actually comfortable to feel unworthy because you don't have to be who you really are. It goes on even further. Okay. You do not want to change because you fear the person you must become in order to change your life. You must admit you are comfortable with the condition you have, as it is an excuse you use to continue the life you are living. When people ask, why are you living this way, you get to blame the disease. However, if you say you want to experience something different, you can no longer use the disease as a crutch. What we have expressed here may be very difficult for you to understand from your perspective, which is focused on a way to rid yourself of this condition by battling it with treatment. But in your case, the only treatment is a new approach to life. If you decide to change the course of your life, you will face some resistance because you have a habit of thinking that is difficult to break. But if you want to move forward, there are some simple things you can do. You want to hear what those are?
Yes.
We would love to.
Start to meditate daily and learn to control the noise in your head. Learn to slow your thoughts by working the muscle of your mind. Practice slowing thought every day. Realize that you are unique and worthy being, and you deserve everything you want out of life. You are a very creative person. You can deliberately create a better life. You are powerful. Read everything you can on this subject. There are many teachers all teaching the same thing but in different ways. Read our books, listen to Abraham, read anything that causes you to see your life from a new, higher perspective. Ask us questions whenever you like. Ask your inner self questions as well. When you encounter what may have seemed like a problem in your past life, and now you see it as a gift containing information, you will have adjusted your approach to life so that nothing unwanted will have any impact on you ever again. You are loved unconditionally by more than you could ever imagine. Joshua.
Ooh, I got chills at the end of that.
Okay, well, that is a fantastic way to end our first radio show together. This is the Teachings of Joshua Roundtable. I want to thank everyone, Janine, Jules, and Steve. It was so much fun. And I hope to see everyone back here again. And listeners, I hope you can join us again each week. Jules, when will this be airing?
Sunday, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, October 11th, 2015.
Yes, but it's going to be, you'll be able to hear it in the archives forevermore.
Good. Awesome. Okay, everyone.
The beauty of technology.
Yes.
Okay.
Have a great week, everyone.
Have a great week, and we'll see you again next Sunday. And until then,
have a great one.
Have a great one.